Hey everyone, good morning, me Kevin here. We've got some more problems to deal with. In this video, I'm going to talk about challenger job cuts, but also I really want to get to the bottom of the Trump problem. Now, this is a Trump card problem that I don't think Trump has really had to face before. This video is not designed to be political in nature. I'm not trying to take a side left or right. I'm trying to provide you insights and perspective on what could potentially go wrong here and what's already going wrong. So that way you can observe, okay, what could those implications mean for me, my portfolio, my wealth, my business, everything going forward. Challenger job cuts, okay? First things first. Highest total job cuts announced since February of 2009 at 172 cuts. That's the highest for the month of February though. It's not actually the highest for any month, given that we had a pretty high month in July of 2020. With substantially higher or more job cuts within a month. Now, part of this was, of course, because of Doge. In fact, a significant portion was because of Doge, but there was plenty of cutting as well in retail and consumer products. In fact, job cuts for retail and consumer products are up 572% from last year this month. This is in total double the cuts announced last year at this time. Highest year-to-date total since 2009. We're up 33% year-to-date since last year. And, quote, private companies announced plans to shed thousands of jobs last month, particularly in retail, consumer products, retail, and technology. was also responsible for a substantial portion with layoffs and canceled government contracts, the sort of knock-on effects, right? So this is not a great report. It's a report that is slowly moving up and slowly getting worse, but it's a report that we kind of anticipated would come in a little dirty. The problem with it is you're starting to get some of that pain on that retail side, as in business side. Now, why could that be? Well, two potential reasons here. Number one, businesses acknowledging that the optimism that we had before the election isn't turning into sales. At that point, those companies, rather than announcing plans to hire, end up laying off, right? Because they're taking it in the margin due to higher producer costs, and then they have to lay off to try to stay in business. This is very normal. There's a second potential, though, and that's that a lot of businesses are still very optimistic. In fact, this Challenger job cuts report indicated that jobs to be hired was sitting at 40,669. Now that's, a fraction of the 172 that we just cut. But that announced jobs to be hired section is actually sitting up at the highest level since February of 2022. So how do you put those pieces of the puzzle together? Some businesses are suffering and they're laying off. Obviously, Doge is contributing to cuts affecting these numbers. How is it possible that some businesses are still wanting to hire? Well, that's because I believe layoffs don't all come at once. They come like a disease. I like to use COVID as an example because it's just an example of how, we're all familiar with how rapidly that can spread. So think back to 2021. Think about the businesses laying off now as being the businesses around the Wuhan flea market and in Seattle because a cruise ship just arrived, or Manhattan, right? Those are sort of the businesses that are like, oh crap. The sales have really taken a hit, time to lay off, obviously making an analogy here. Now, other businesses, like maybe those in Ohio or Texas, like, we don't got that stuff over here. We're still optimistic, we're still hiring, but it's coming. So that's my read of this report. Now, something that could add fuel to the fire of this is people saying no to Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is not used to people saying no to him. That's because he's been a very powerful person his entire life. First, obviously, with a small loan from his dad, the Drumpf Empire. Remember, Donald Trump actually changed his last name from Drumpf, which is D-R-U-M-P-F. I think it was like Dutch or German or something like that, to Trump. Smart move. But anyway, excuse me. So, he's always had a lot of clout. First it was dad's clout, then he built his own clout. I'm not here to shade him for that, I'm just saying. He's always been used to having the cards, right? The Trump card, as Ivanka's book is called. Okay, so it's been easy for Donald Trump to negotiate from a position of power in his businesses. when it comes to the U.S. economy, the U.S. economy has always been one that could negotiate from a position of power because it's always been the strongest economy in the world by a factor of 2. Well, what happens, and we don't know the answer to this because I think it rarely happens, when everybody else starts saying no to us? Now, this is interesting. Let's go through this. First, Zelensky apologized after being castrated during the Trump Oval Office meeting, saying he was ready to work with Donald Trump and work on that mineral deal. Donald Trump and the Trump administration apparently were looking for a video apology to essentially use it to celebrate victory. However, since then, Zelensky apparently secured substantial funding for missiles and weapons from the European Commission, so a group of European countries, including countries like Finland, the United Kingdom, Greece, Croatia, obviously the non-country, such as NATO, and others. Now, a lot of Trump and supporters of this move say, good, let Ukraine be funded not by American taxpayer money, but instead by the people who are most affected by that security issue, the people of Europe. Great, that's a fair argument.